everyone, I am here with a story for you guys. This story is called Joey's Angel, and it is by Anna M. Gregory. It is supposed to be a true story, so let's get started. It had been a rough week. Water had seeped into the basement and needed to be pumped out. Having installed the sump pump, we sighed in relief. Later that night, we checked the pump. It had fallen over, which meant the water would soon be deeper and harder to remove. Our biggest worry was that the water would reach our electrical box. That would be the biggest worry. That would be a disaster. Surely would. I was grateful when, after a time, we got the pump steadied and could go back into the house. It was only a short time till bedtime. I was exhausted, and so was my husband. Later that week, I smelled smoke near the home. My husband told me he thought one of our neighbors was burning some limbs and sticks and grass. We both went to bed without another thought of the smoke. The next day, I still smelt smoke. I figured the neighbor's pile was still smoldering. Late that night, after we had gone to bed, I felt a nudge on my shoulder. It wasn't a slight nudge. It felt like a strong hand, almost shaking me, trying to get my attention. I turned to look at my husband. I figured he needed me to do something. Maybe one of the kids was crying, though that would be strange because I always heard the children, not he. I looked deep into his face. I spoke his name and he didn't answer. He was sound asleep. The strange feeling that someone woke me filled my heart. I looked around the room and saw no one. The feeling persisted. It didn't seem like a cold, frightening presence. It felt warm and caring. I wondered as I remained still under the covers. Finally, I sat up and looked around. A strong smell of smoke wafted into the bedroom. I slipped on my house shoes, and walked through the house. I could still smell smoke, and the smell seemed stronger. Walking back to the bedroom, I hesitated. Waking my husband that late at night was like waking a grizzly. Finally, I shook my husband's shoulder, waking him from a deep sleep. "Honey, I smell smoke. It is really strong. Could you please check the house? I couldn't find anything, but would you look?" He grumbled, but got up. He walked into the living room and looked around. Nothing seemed amiss, yet we could both smell the unmistakable scent of smoke. He headed for the stairs, and I followed. We checked the first bedroom and found nothing. Walking into the far bedroom, we both noticed the light was still on. My husband reached for the switch and flipped it. Nothing. It was still lit. He reached his hand to the ceiling. He motioned me closer, and I too felt the ceiling. It was very hot. He woke the children, dressed them, and shuffled them downstairs. My husband motioned me to the phone. "Call the fire department. Tell them our house is on fire." I made the call, and a fireman answered. "I think our house is on fire. We both smell smoke." "No, we don't see any flames, but can you come?" The man laughed and assured me that they can be there in a few minutes. Isn't that awful? They laughed at her like that. I shuffled the children out the door and into the car. Moments later, a fire truck raced into our driveway. The boys thought this was cool. The fire truck had come into our driveway and our yard. They were mesmerized. Of course, little kids would be. My husband explained to the firefighters what they had found. They climbed onto our roof and proceeded to literally chop a large hole. When the hole opened through the roof, flames shot out and up. A fireman spoke to my husband. "You are lucky. Another hour or so and your house would have gone up in flames." He shook his head. "I've never seen such a hot spot that hadn't started burning sooner." I was astounded. I looked at my husband. It was God who woke me. I felt a strong nudge on my shoulder. I was sound asleep. It wasn't you that nudged my shoulder and woke me. He shook his head. No, it wasn't me. I was asleep until you woke me. It was that angel of Joey's, God's angel that comes. I laughed. I'd forgotten Joey's angel, actually God's angel. One night when we were asleep, I woke to the sound of crying. Going to the stairs, I found the night light out in the room where where 3 of our boys slept. Our middle son was terrified of the dark. I went back down, got a new bulb and fixed it. I checked the youngest. He was sound asleep. My other son, Joey, was lying on his bed wide awake. His brother, crying, had woken him. I sat on the bed beside Joey. I looked around the room. Joey, are you afraid of the dark? It's okay if you are. He looked at me with those innocent eyes. No, Mom, I'm not afraid. That man comes every night with the candles. I was just waiting for him to come. Joey, I said, it can be kind of dark in here. He shook his head. That man always comes, Mom. I stared at him. What man, Joey? He looked at me like he was trying to explain something complicated to a very small child. There is a man who comes and stands in the window. He has candles. He lifted his hands and gestured. He has wings up there, and he has bright, shiny clothes. He stands in the window every night. He always has the candles, Mom, so it's not very dark in here. I looked at him and said, Are you sure? The look he gave me was telling. I smiled and hugged Joey and left. My child was telling me he saw an angel in his window every night. I was amazed, but why? I prayed for God's protection, and he sent it. Joey saw an angel. He was never a child who would lie. He would tell you the truth, no matter how painful it might be for you or anyone else. God is so loving and caring, and he fills my heart with his love. He'd sent an angel to my son, who I believe was open to seeing an angel. Joey had told others about the angel. He wanted other kids to know about it. None of them acted like they believed him, though. It hurt his heart, and he soon stopped talking about it. When Joey grew older and married, he moved several times. He became a mechanic and fixed cars and machines. He came to me one day, and in his matter-of-fact way told me that at every place he lived, a preacher's car had broken down in front of his house. Mom, he said, every time I would fix their cars, and as I did, they preached me a sermon. His eyes got serious. You're doing this, aren't you? I laughed as I answered, Yep. Yep, son, I'm doing this. I pray for you every day, and I will until the day I die. God has cared for us, protected us, loved us, and provided for us when we were almost destitute. My God is great, God, and sometimes he even sends an angel to wake us when we need awakening. God sent that angel, I believe, to reassure us that he cared. I thank God that he continues to speak to my heart, my husband's heart, and to our son's heart. Amen.